Steady Paws Podcast, Episode 3, The Stress Bucket, Why Out of Nowhere Doesn't Exist. Have you ever had a day where everything just felt like too much? Maybe you stubbed your toe in the morning, spilled your coffee on the way to work, got stuck in traffic, and then had a minor disagreement with a colleague. Individually, none of those things are disasters. But then, you get home, you can't find your house keys, and you suddenly feel like crying or screaming. Your reaction to the keys wasn't really about the keys at all. It was about everything that happened before you even walked up to your front door. Our dogs have days exactly like this. Welcome back to the Steady Paws Podcast. I'm Shreen Hill, founder of Steady Paws, author of the Steady Paws approach, and a canine behaviour and welfare educator. In our last episode, we talked about emotional safety as the absolute foundation of confidence. We're going to build on that by looking at a concept that will completely transform how you view your dog's behaviour. The stress bucket. If you've ever felt like your dog's reactions come completely out of nowhere, this episode is for you. So, what is a stress bucket? It is a simple visual analogy that helps us understand how stress accumulates in our dogs. Imagine every dog is born with an invisible bucket. Some dogs, by virtue of their genetics or early experiences, like my dog, Heidi, who missed out on early socialisation as a lockdown puppy, start life with a slightly smaller bucket. Other dogs might have a giant, deep bucket, but regardless of the size, the concept is the same. Every time your dog experiences something stressful, exciting, frustrating, or even scary, a drop of water falls into their bucket. A loud bin lorry rumbles past the window. Drip. Delivery driver knocks on the front door. Drip. They see a dog on their morning walk that gets a bit too close. Splash. Even fun things like a high-energy game of fetch or a visitor arriving at the house add water to the bucket. The problem is, if we don't give the water a way to drain out, the bucket keeps filling. And when the water reaches the very top, even a tiny, insignificant event, like a passing leaf or a quiet noise in the garden, causes the bucket to overflow. When the bucket overflows, we see the behaviour, the barking, the lunging, the spinning, or the inability to settle. It didn't happen out of nowhere. It happened because the bucket was already full to the brim. In the professional behaviour world, we call this trigger stacking. And understanding this concept is incredibly liberating for owners. Before I truly understood this, I remember walks with Heidi where she would walk past 3 dogs beautifully and then react dreadfully to the 4th dog, who was even further away from the others. I used to feel so confused and frustrated. Think, why now? You were doing so well. But Heidi wasn't being unpredictable. The first dog filled a bucket halfway. The second dog filled it to 3/4. The third dog brought the water right to the lip. By the time she saw the 4th dog, her system simply could not cope with any more stimulation. The bucket overflowed. When we only look at the final trigger, the 4th dog, we miss the entire story. We focus on stopping the reaction to that last dog, rather than realising we need to manage the overall level of the water in the bucket throughout the day. Thankfully, our dogs' buckets aren't designed to stay full forever. Every bucket has a little tap at the bottom that allows the water to drain out. But here's the catch. The tap only opens when your dog feels emotionally safe and relaxed. In canine biology, when a dog experiences a stressful event, their body is flooded with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones don't disappear the second the scary thing goes away. In fact, depending on the severity of the stress, it can take anywhere from a few hours to several days for these hormones to fully leave your dog's system. If your dog has a highly stressful experience on a Monday, their bucket might still be half full on Wednesday, even if nothing else happens. So, how do we open that tap to let the water drain? We do it through decompression. This involves high quality sleep. Dogs need a surprising amount of sleep, often between 12 to 16 hours a day. When they are sleep deprived, the tap stays firmly closed. Natural behaviours like sniffing, chewing, and licking are also natural pacifiers. They physically release feel-good hormones that help lower heart rates and drain the stress bucket. And lastly, quiet days. If your dog has had a highly stressful day, like a vet visit or a very difficult walk, they don't need another walk the next day to burn off energy. They need a rest day. A quiet day at home with mental enrichment and plenty of sleep is often the best medicine. Once you start seeing your dog's life through the lens of the stress bucket, your role shifts. You stop being a dog trainer, trying to fix isolated reactions, and you become a bucket manager. Before you take your dog out for a walk, ask yourself, how full is the bucket right now? Did they sleep poorly last night? Was there a lot of wind or construction noise outside this morning? Did they bark at the postman earlier? If the bucket is already half full before you even put on their leads and collars, today is not the day to practice training in a busy park. Today is a day to keep things low stress, stand further away from triggers, or perhaps swap the walk entirely for some fun scent work in the garden. This isn't giving up or letting your dog get away with things. It is setting them up to succeed. Because as we established in our last episode, safety must come before skill. A dog with an overflowing bucket simply does not have the biological capacity to learn. The next time your dog has a reaction that feels sudden or confusing, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, the bucket is full. How can I help them drain it? I dive much deeper into the mechanics of trigger stacking and how to design a personalised decompression routine for your dog in Chapter 3 of my book, The Steady Paws Approach, which you can find available on Amazon as a Kindle and paperback edition. Thank you so much for spending these few minutes with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please hit follow and share it with a fellow dog owner who might be feeling overwhelmed by their pup's unpredictable behaviour. In our next episode, we're going to look at canine communication. We'll talk about the incredibly subtle whispers our dogs use to tell us their bucket is filling up, long before they feel forced to shout. Until then, take gentle care of yourselves and your dogs. Keep it steady, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.